Maybe a bit of an introduction first to ASEAN for those who are not familiar with the region. It's an association of 10 countries, Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. So some quite big markets there. But each has, we have our own political, economic, and social, cultural background. So it's a very diverse region, and ASEAN was really formed to accelerate economic growth, social progress, and cultural development. It covers a geographical area of 4.5 million square kilometers. Total population is about 650 million. It's about 8.5% of the global population, and the GDP is about 3.3 trillion US dollars. So that is it for the sort of political and economic tour. Then I'll cover our work on data-related developments in the region. And I think one of the key things to note is that it's actually in the data protection space also quite diverse. About half the countries don't have data protection laws or are in the midst of putting in place data protection laws and in the midst of, sort of setting up data protection authorities. So there is quite a diverse range of maturity in the data space. And so one of the important things that ASEAN had to do was to create greater harmonization through initiatives that you see, I think, on the screen. There was, in 2016, a framework on personal data protection, and then in 2018, a framework for digital data governance. The framework for personal data protection is modeled closely after the OECD privacy guidelines. And the digital data governance framework is a sort of framework to enhance data management, facilitate harmonization of data regulations, and to promote, importantly, intra-ASEAN data flows. So on this slide, what you see is some work specifically on the a data management framework, and then importantly for today's topic, model contractual clauses. And so one of the important things with the model contractual clauses was to focus on a set of contractual clauses, as it was found that it's the most commonly used transfer mechanism within the region, especially for business-to-business transfers. And the MCCs are designed to provide safeguards for cross-border transfers, and they set out responsibilities, necessary data protection measures, and obligations for the parties to safeguard the data of data subjects. And it also helps to provide assurance to the recipient country, even for a country without data protection laws, by allowing them to protect data to the same standard. Importantly, the slight difference is that the model contractual clauses can be modified or amended, and that was important, bearing in mind that sort of cultural and political context. Countries such as Singapore, Thailand, Philippines, have more established data protection regimes, and the regulators have therefore, including my office, provided certainty to confirm that use of the model contractual clauses will satisfy transfer limitation obligations. I'll now cover work that we've done with the EU, European Commission specifically, because going back to the theme of today's conference and topic, it is about building bridges and facilitation. So what we did was to focus on facilitating CBDF, cross-border data flows, with other jurisdictions through promoting interoperability of the ASEAN model contractual clauses. So we actually worked with the European Union, the Commission, to develop an EU-ASEAN joint guide. And the joint guide consists of two parts: a reference guide, which was initially launched in May 23, and then an implementation guide, which was recently launched this year. So what this guide does is it highlights similarities and differences between both sets of clauses, with the aim of facilitating common understanding and easing contractual negotiations between ASEAN and EU business partners. It also features best practices that businesses can consider to implement and to fulfill their contractual obligations. So even if within ASEAN, the model contractual clauses are enough, if there is other things that companies should or can do in order to also reach into the EU market, the guide is meant to promote and suggest practical steps that companies can take to access both markets. So what we really hope this guide would do is to level the playing field and benefit smaller and medium-sized enterprises, especially that face resource constraints. It's a first step, but also a statement about our collective commitment to ensuring interoperability between data transfer mechanisms and facilitating trusted data flows between these two economic blocks.